Tucker Carlson made some pretty interesting comments about a certain individual.
I don't like to vote, but I did vote this time. And I don't like to vote because I don't believe in any of them. And this time I really felt like I know Trump well. I love Trump personally. And what we were looking at was just so awful and totalitarian and stupid. And it wasn't even the arguments that I disagreed with from the Kamala Harris. It's weird even to say her name now. Who was that exactly? It was like a bad dream. But it wasn't even so much the arguments I disagreed with, though I definitely disagreed with the arguments. It was the style of argument that drove me completely bonkers, summarized most crisply by "shut up, racist."
Yep.
Whatever you said, it was "shut up, racist." And it's like, but wait, first of all, I'm not a racist, but that's not even the point. The point is, I just told you what I think. I just asked you an entirely legitimate question, mostly, what the hell are you doing? And rather than answer it, you didn't pay me the respect that you would a human being. You treated...
They don't pay you the respect because they don't have it. It's used as a way to shut people up because they're afraid of the label. It's controlling people with language.
Treated me like a slave or an animal by telling me to stop barking. Shut up, racist.
Mm-hmm.
And I won't put up with that because I'm not a slave or an animal. I'm an American citizen, an adult man who pays his taxes. So, I ask people questions for a living, and very often I get answers that I don't care for, that I disagree with, that I think are stupid. But at least they're answers. At least the person responding is treating me like a human being with a soul created in the image of the Creator. He's paying me the respect that every human being is due. When you ask a direct question to someone in charge, you are due. That person is morally bound to give you an answer.
And this is going to the
He's not bound to agree with you, but he's bound to stop and answer your question. And the left never did that. They would dismiss you out of hand.
I think actually Tucker Carlson's bringing up a really good point, and I think this is how a lot of people got radicalized, is that why can't we ask questions about obvious things? Why can't we talk about this? And as soon as people can't talk about something or they feel like they're being suppressed, it radicalizes them.
Not worth listening to. Be quiet. And that's, of course, where the impulse to censorship comes from.
So radicalize me?
It comes from the belief that you don't deserve to speak because you're not fully human. They own you. Mm-hmm. And that's what I voted against.
I think I don't know if I really agree with that conclusion, but I agree with the evaluation of the problem. I think it's that they view certain types of ideas as being dangerous, and they think that it's more important to protect people from those ideas than to engage with them.
Against, above all, I voted against a million different things that I hated about the last administration.
Sure.
Their insane desire to start pointless wars around the world. Their total unwillingness to protect this country domestically, to protect the people who live here, to protect the territorial integrity of the country, bringing in tens of millions of people illegally, giving them free stuff the second they get here, making a mockery of citizenship.
Yeah.
I hated all of that. I hated all of that. But the thing I hated most was their total unwillingness to answer any question about why they were doing what they were doing, because it was just too insulting.
I think this is probably the point where a lot of people got mainstream radicalized against this was actually with COVID. I think that the way that the government handled COVID and the way that you couldn't question or ask any sort of dissenting opinion about COVID radicalized, I think, a large enough contingency in the population that the damage that did to the trust with the government, like it put it back by like 20 years.
And every single time I would just feel like raising the middle finger and screaming obscenities, which is not an adult response, I'll concede, but that's how I felt. And I think that's really at the heart of why the Epstein thing is so distressing.
Oh, here we go.
I mean, the guy was some weird sex freak who was abusing girls.
Yep.
We knew that. But the fact that the U.S. government, the one that I voted for, refused to take my question seriously and instead said, case closed, shut up, conspiracy theorist, was too much for me.
Well, it's also that I think that he's not going hard enough, at least not yet. Trump was the one who pushed it. He was the one that started putting out names. He said Prince Andrew. He said Bill Clinton. Why the fuck were you saying this if it wasn't true? Why were you saying this? And he either owes us an explanation or he owes them an apology. Because going around and implying some guy is some sort of collaborator with a generational pedophile and kind of insinuating that they were doing the same thing is total reputation destruction. Complete reputation destruction. Why the fuck is he not coming? Like, I think he should be held accountable for that. You're just making up bullshit. Never apologize, right? Well, it's not even about that's not even true. You should apologize if you're wrong. If you're wrong, you should apologize. Never apologize if you don't think you're wrong. You can apologize if you think you're wrong. That's fine. But an explanation is needed at least.
And I don't think the rest of us should be satisfied with that. And by the way, let me just say really quickly, because I was so mad about it that I think I found out part of what's going on. I think we are going to find out more. And I think the truth, for whatever it's worth, in case you're interested, is that the DOJ didn't release lots of incriminating sex videos with Epstein and his billionaire pals because they don't have them. They don't have them because when the original...
They said they had them.
Search warrant was served 2007, I think, possibly 2006, I think 7. It was basically designed to protect Epstein. The search warrant was written in such a way to make sure that the feds never got their hands on the actually incriminating evidence. It's another way of saying the cover-up has been going on since 2007, almost 20 years. And so the real question is not, was Jeffrey Epstein a weirdo who was abusing girls? Yes, we can answer that. The real question is, why was he doing this, on whose behalf, and where did the money come from?
Yeah.
And those are the questions that need to be answered. And I think it's entirely fair to ask them.
True.
And it's not adequate to say anyone who asked them is somehow desecrating the memory of little girls who died in Texas. I'm not going to put up with that answer.
It's a bullshit answer. It was probably, I think it may have been the worst answer Trump has ever given to any question ever.
Care who gives that answer. That is not acceptable. And I think the real answer is Jeffrey Epstein was working on behalf of intel services, probably not American. And we have every right to ask, on whose behalf was he working? How does a guy go from being a math teacher at the Dalton School in the late 70s with no college degree to having multiple airplanes, a private island, and the largest residential house in Manhattan? Where did all the money come from? And no one has ever gotten to the bottom of that because no one has ever tried. And moreover, it's extremely obvious to anyone who watches that this guy had direct connections to a foreign government.
From my limited understanding of history, it seems like one of the historical figures that Epstein is kind of similar to is Rasputin. Because Rasputin was able to infiltrate and get involved inside of the Russian family and create incriminating evidence and basically establish himself as a confidant and a piece of power inside of that. And I think that Epstein did the same thing. Their whole circle. Yes, exactly. I don't know. Maybe that's a crazy thing for me to say. But I feel like from what my understanding is, it's a big stretch. And I think that maybe if I knew more about him, I would realize that I'm wrong. But from what I understand, it seems pretty similar.
Now, no one's allowed to say that that foreign government is Israel because we have been somehow cowed into thinking that that's naughty. There is nothing wrong with...
Shut it down! Shut it down!
Saying that. There is nothing hateful about saying that. There's nothing anti-Semitic about saying that. There's nothing even anti-Israel about saying that. I've spent my entire life pretty much in Washington, where I knew and loved a number of people, including one very close person, who worked at CIA.
Sure.
That has never prohibited me from saying, I think the CIA has done some horrible things, murdered a bunch of people, participated in the murder of a sitting U.S. president. It's got a whole trail of crimes. Good. That doesn't make me a disloyal American. It doesn't make me anti-American in any sense. I was born here. My family's been here for hundreds of years. I love this country. That's why I live here. So criticizing the behavior of a government agency does not make you a hater. It makes you a free person.
Well, I'd say it makes you an American. Like, I think there's a certain degree of, like, for example, I think that there's a big difference between criticizing the CIA for having too many connections to Israel and criticizing ICE for arresting illegal aliens, right? Like, I don't think these are the same thing. But at the same time, again, it's your right to be able to do that.
It makes you a citizen. You're allowed to do that because you're not a slave. You're a citizen. And you have a right to expect that your government will not act against your interests, and you have a right to demand that foreign governments not be allowed to act against your interest.
Why is it that we have why is it that we allow AIPAC to even have any influence over our politics in the first place? Like, if there was like a political action committee that was for the CCP, everybody would lose their fucking minds. You know why? Money? That's bullshit. I don't believe that. You think Israel are the only people that have money? There's plenty of other people that have money.
That's not creepy. It shouldn't be forbidden. And yet all of us have trained ourselves to believe that you can't say that somehow. That that's like too naughty and forbidden. And the effect of making that off limits has...
I think that also there's been a secondary reactionary effect because some of the pro-Palestine people have been so aggressive and ridiculous with how they behave that it's alienated some people away from the cause and towards Israel, which I think is inaccurate. I think that, again, you should never support something as a reactionary stance from somebody else's behavior.
It's been to create a lot of resentment, and I'll say it, hate online, where people feel like they can't just say, like, what the hell is this? You have the former Israeli prime minister living in your house. You have had all this contact with the foreign government. Were you working on behalf of Mossad?
Interesting question.
Were you running a blackmail operation on behalf of a foreign government? By the way, every single person in Washington, D.C. thinks that. I've never met anyone who doesn't think that. I don't know any of them that hate Israel, but no one...
Well, why aren't they coming out and saying it? That's the problem. Is that Tucker Carlson can say that people are telling him this behind closed doors, but we need to get these people out in front of an audience and saying it. They're bought off. Very easy solution there. If they're being bought off by a foreign government in order to subvert our government, that's treason. So charge them for it. That's it. Just do it. And again, it's treason, and yes, exactly. And the reason why, and they call it lobbying, it's career suicide. Well, I mean, I don't know about that. I mean, they can choose between career suicide or capital punishment, in my opinion. Go ahead. Pick your poison. In this case, literally. People are such pussies that they allow these malicious bad actors to take advantage of them and to ruin everything. They ruin fucking everything because nobody wants to call this stuff out for what it is. Nobody wants to take decisive, deliberate, extreme action because they're afraid.
Feels they can say that. Why? I think the longer that we play along with it, the more subterranean and creepy and hateful the conversation actually becomes.
It's true.
Did this happen? And of course, that question has been asked to the government of Israel, and their answer is, we're not going to tell you.
Oh.
And I think our answer should be, no.
Yes, you are.
As long as we're sending you money, if you were committing crimes on our soil, we have an absolute right to know, did you do this or not?
Exactly. Yeah. Like, if we're sending them all this money, why can't we just withhold it unless they give us the information?
And yet everybody has been so brainwashed into thinking that's somehow an expression of hate or bigotry when it's not. It's a baseline question that every U.S. citizen has a right to an answer on. What the hell?
And Israel has done this, and a lot of pro-Israel lobbies have done this too, and they have maligned people inaccurately as anti-Semites when they are in fact just critical of Israel's actions.
Oh, was this? And by the way, if it turns out that it was nothing at all, that somehow Jeffrey Epstein really did earn $165 million giving tax advice to somebody, which is, for the record, a lot more than most people pay their accountants.
It's bullshit. And the reason how you know it's bullshit is because if Jeffrey Epstein gave some kind of, world-class, nobody can think of this tax advice ever, then why didn't these people that were involved with him start paying a lot more taxes after he died? It just doesn't make any sense.
And that none of this was actually a foreign intel operation, stupid. And that there was no blackmail involved, that actually Bill Gates was just hanging on the island because the weather was especially good. No one was videotaped doing anything immoral or illegal, and then that was used against them to get them to obey. If all of that is false, then just tell me how it's false.
How do we know that? What do you think? What do you think? Do you really think that after Epstein died, they had to pay twice as much in taxes? Use your fucking brain. Just think for 1 second. You don't need... This is the problem that a lot of people have. Not everything has explicit empirical evidence. Sometimes you have to just make a guess. You do. And I'm making a guess. I think I'm right. Common sense is a comment. Yeah, you've got to be able to make a guess. It's called extrapolating from incomplete data. Yeah, it's bullshit.
But don't call me a lunatic. And when Fox News runs a piece, as they did yesterday by Hugh Hewitt, saying that anybody who's got even more questions about Epstein is some kind of nutcase with an unhappy personal life, who's spending too much time on Twitter in the fervid fever swamps of conspiracies. Up yours, buddy. Why don't you answer the question then? Don't let anybody insult you, anybody, and I mean anybody, ever get away with insulting you instead of answering a legitimate question.
That's a fucking fact. That is a fucking fact. That's perfect. I love it.
Okay? Ever. And by the way, you will hear certain people say, well, that means you hate the person. No, it doesn't. I've got a bunch of kids. I would never let them get away with that. If I caught one of my kids, smoking weed in the bathroom at my house, and I was like, are you smoking weed in the bathroom? Shut up, racist! You hate me! No, you're my child. I don't hate you. Answer the freaking question. Were you smoking weed in the bathroom or not? I'm not the criminal here. You seem to be.
There it is. No, he's fucking right. He's completely right about this. And let me see, I can pull up some more about this too. Okay, here we go. Notice that JD is staying pretty quiet about all this. It's because he knows he doesn't want to stink of his name on it and for the future. I don't see the reason why he needs to get involved. It's not really his thing. I mean, why would he?
Obviously, that's absurd. I quote the New Testament, but I also refer to common sense when I say that no man can serve two masters. It's not possible. I only have one wife for that reason. You say to your wife, I'm going to take another wife, but I'm going to love you just as much. Nothing's going to change. My wife's going to look at me like, no.
That woman leaves.
One wife.
Two women
you can
leave.
only really pledge your loyalty to one person or one country. This is a fact. And There's also a sense, and this is relevant to me.
I think this is true, by the way. If you seek any form of public election or public election to office, I think that upon winning, you need to renounce all forms of citizenship to any. You need to not only renounce, but you need to also make it transparent to the public that you had actually probably in order to even run. You know what? To even be on the ballot, I think that you need to disclose any citizenship that you have, and upon winning, you need to renounce any citizenship that you have, even if it's for city council. Nope.
And I know you're speaking about Israel, but it's not just Israel, to be honest.
What if you run and then lose? Well, then you don't have to renounce it.
I think it's a huge problem. I think anybody, by the way, who serves in a foreign military should lose his citizenship immediately.
That makes no sense. It absolutely makes sense. I want people who are working in the American government I want them to be completely locked in to the gravity of their decisions. I don't want them to think that there is a lifeboat or another place that they can go in case those decisions don't go well. That's what I think. Complete accountability. That's a bit much. That's a bit. You're telling me it's a bit much that people shouldn't be citizens of other countries whenever they're elected officials of ours? That's a bit much for you? I don't think that's enough. I'm being reasonable.
There are a lot of Americans who've served in the IDF. They should lose their citizenship. There's a lot of Americans who've served in Ukraine, and they should lose their citizenship. You can't fight for another country and remain an American, period. Obviously. I mean, it's like not even, it's so funny how all of us have been cowed into being like, oh, that's hate speech. No, it's not. You don't hear hate in my voice because there isn't any. It's just an obvious recognition of the truth. But there's a more insidious thing, and I say it's not just Israel. I'm not just trying to like give myself cover. I'm being honest. There are a ton of countries that offer citizenship, actually, some of which I love. I have been offered citizenship in a couple of different countries that I really like, and I thought about it. And then I thought, no, there's something about being lashed to the mast. Like everyone can see that America's in trouble, the demographic trends are really bad, and the country's decaying and cities are falling apart. So you're like, oh wow, you know, maybe I should flee. And then I'm like, my ancestors are from here. My parents are buried right across from my kitchen. I'm staying here. And the second you make that decision in your head, like I don't care what happens to America, I will be here, it totally changes your attitude. You're like, I don't even...
You know who else believed this? Hernan Cortez. When he burned the motherfucking boats. And do you want to know what's so crazy about it? It worked. And Pizarro? Yep. He burned the fucking boats. Arthas? Yeah.
I don't even care. It's my country. And they've been here for so long and fought in all of these wars. My ancestors, and I'm sure yours, would be totally shocked.
Another good example? No, it absolutely is. My point is that when you're locked into the outcome of something and you actually have skin in the game, do you remember what I said before about the election? Is that I don't bet on what people say, I bet on what people bet on. And that's why I said definitively Donald Trump was going to win the election the entire time. And there are people saying that it was going to be 50-50. It's because when people actually have the opportunity to put their money where their mouth is, they are automatically a lot more conservative and realistic and less idealistic instantaneously. And whenever you add accountability to actions or words, then you have that accountability and those words measured at a much different rate and a much different level. Bookmakers are right. Yeah. And so, yeah, don't bet on what people say. Bet on what people bet on.
Some of the conversations. Foreign flags in the Congress? Are you joking?
So somebody said again, well, I disagree. I served in Ukraine. I don't think I should lose my citizenship. I think that's crazy. That's not what I said. I never said that. I said running and winning political office. Are you running for and winning political office? No, you're not. So why are you even talking about that?
Wars. My ancestors, and I'm
that's
sure
what Tucker said. I don't care what Tucker said. That's not that's I don't. It doesn't mean that I agree with everything he said. I'm giving you my opinion. I'm listening to what he's saying, and then I'm saying what I think.
Would be totally shocked by some of the conversations. Foreign flags in the Congress? Are you joking?
Yeah.
Get out. And so,
get out.
Once you decide you're all in on your country, it really changes the way you approach everything. And by the way, it should be the baseline requirement. You shouldn't be allowed to serve in government if you're not a U.S. citizen or you're a dual citizen. Are you joking? Of course not.
Absolutely. 100%.
And I would love to know what the justification is. And of course, there isn't one, which is why they're allowed to just write you off as some sort of like freak, some internet freak, hater, Nazi, whatever. I'm not. Just an American who loves my country, and I think it's fair to demand that the people running my country love it every bit as much as I do.
True. And that they're locked in. Yeah, this is it. Remember, I think Steve Jobs said that he never took advice from consultants because consultants don't have any level of accountability of their decisions. Anybody that will never stand to own the consequences of their advice, you should always take it less seriously. This is something about amnesty. We'll watch this one too. Depends on the type of consultant. Some consultants save your money right out the gate. Oh yeah, sure. I mean, everything exists on a spectrum. But it's the entire idea that I'm bringing up.
Any questions? Yes, sir.
What do you think about amnesty for farm workers?
What do I think about amnesty for farm workers? I think it's the most grotesque thing I've ever heard.
Ooh.
Are you joking?
Oh.
Amnesty for farm workers?
Oh.
We have like 60 million illegal aliens in the country. The country
How
bears
does it keep going up?
to the country I grew up in, and it's not better, it's worse.
Yell at Tucker.
So I'm not going to sit for another lecture from anybody telling me we need to import more people to write code or pick grapes or any other task. Period. It hasn't worked. The country hasn't gotten richer. It hasn't become more unified. Those words should burn on the tongue of anyone who utters them. How dare you talk like that? Amnesty. How about deportation? It's...
Ooh.
What about that? Any questions?
Oh, man. I'm loving that, man. Yep, there it is. Based? Absolutely. I love to fucking hear that. There you go. Yeah, GP keeps going up. Yeah, how do you fix have you tried to fix your Tourette's? My Tourette's. I don't think I have Tourette's. And I think 60 million is probably a bit much. But, I'll see if there's any more of this to look at. But, I think that's basically it. Should anybody who serves in foreign military should lose their citizenship? I don't agree. I don't agree with this element of it. I think this is too far. Personally, I just don't think so. Especially when, like, for example, like I like the logic with this, I don't like, because in a lot of cases we are serving on behalf of a foreign military whenever we go to solve problems like World War II. Or we go to solve problems like Vietnam or, the Middle East conflict. Like, we're not really solving a direct issue of our country. We're solving an indirect one. And so it's different. I think it's different, but it's not different enough for me to draw this distinction. Of course it's different, but I don't think that you should lose citizenship for serving in a foreign military unless the military is, like, adversarial to the United States or something like that. So that's really it. Let me go back. I'll see if there's any more of this here. And where the fuck did it go? Is there any blackmail?
The answer is Jeffrey Epstein was working on behalf
of... this is it. And Tucker Carlson, people are popping off about this. And I'm very glad to see it. I really am.